Welcome back to True Tomorrows. You know the show, the one that peaks just around the corner at what might be, coming up.
That's right. And I'm Julia Jones. I'm here to help sort it all out.
Sort out the science fact and the science fiction. I'm Adrian Smith.
That's right.
I'm your host for this daily dose of What If. So if you're like me and fascinated by all the strange and sometimes unsettling ways technology is shaping our world, well, you're in the right place.
Yeah.
We're diving into some pretty wild stories today, trying to figure out what could really happen, and what's possible, and what's still in that fantasy land.
Well, think of us as your guides between tomorrow's reality and
And the stuff in science fiction.
yeah. And if you enjoy the ride today, don't forget to rate and follow True Tomorrows.
Yes, please do.
Got a new story waiting for you every day.
Now, imagine a world where a detective can actually hear the voices of the dead.
Okay.
Not in like a spooky, ghostly way, but as a sort of residual energy. Like a static hiss that holds clues to their final moments. That's the world of Detective Thorne.
It's a fascinating concept, this idea that we might be able to tap into some kind of echo of consciousness, to use it to solve crimes. I mean, think of what that could mean for criminal justice.
Yeah, talk about turning cold cases into hot leads.
Exactly.
But in this case, Thorne gets more than he bargained for. Instead of a plea for justice, he hears this strange chanting. This vibration that's pointing to something much more ancient and unsettling than a typical homicide.
And so instead of a crime scene, his investigation leads him to this makeshift altar with occult symbols, remnants of a ritual. The kind of stuff you usually only see in horror movies.
Okay, so we've gone from a crime procedural to something a bit more supernatural. Does Thorne have any idea who is behind this ritual or what they were even trying to do?
He catches glimpses of figures like echoes or shadows, but they vanish before he can get a clear look. It's as if the act of the ritual itself imprinted these shadowy figures onto the fabric of that place. And with each encounter, Thorne feels this growing sense of dread, as though something truly terrible is about to be unleashed.
So he's got this cryptic chanting, these shadowy figures, and a really bad feeling in his gut. What's a detective to do? Does he just file this one under weird and move on?
Not Thorne. He becomes obsessed with tracking down the people behind this ritual. It's like the whispers of the dead are warning him of something, urging him to prevent a catastrophe. And every cultist he finds, they all repeat the same chilling prophecy: the sleeper shall rise.
Okay, now that's a phrase guaranteed to send shivers down your spine. You've got a detective who hears dead people, a creepy prophecy, shadowy figures, and a whole lot of bad vibes. Where does this all lead?
The trail ends at an abandoned asylum, a place already steeped in its own kind of unsettling energy. Thorne finds himself surrounded by spectral forms, the air crackling with power, the chanting echoing through the decaying halls.
Okay, I can practically hear the spooky background music. So Thorne's in this abandoned asylum surrounded by ghosts and bad vibes. What happens next?
He eventually discovers a central chamber, its floor covered in these intricate chalk diagrams, and in the center, a withered, mummified figure radiating an unsettling power. The static in Thorne's head intensifies, becoming a cacophony of terror and anticipation, and then the sleeper's eyes snap open, glowing with an otherworldly light.
Wait, hold on. This mummy, this sleeper, it's alive.
Alive might not be the right word. It's more like a conduit, a vessel for something ancient and incredibly powerful. As its eyes open, it's as though a wave of raw energy washes over Thorne, transforming the usual static he hears into a deafening roar.
Okay, we're back, and things getting seriously intense in Detective Thorne's world. I mean, we've got a glowing-eyed mummy monster, an abandoned asylum, and a detective who is way over his head. What does he do when he's faced with something like that?
Well, think about it. Thorne's whole life revolves around understanding echoes of the past.
Right.
He uses these whispers from the dead to solve crimes and bring justice to the world. But here he is, facing a being that predates recorded history, something that doesn't fit into any of his usual frameworks.
So it's not just about fighting a monster. It's about confronting the limits of his own understanding.
Right. Exactly. And what's fascinating is how this kind of mirrors our own relationship with technology. We're constantly pushing boundaries, developing new tools to explore the universe and ourselves. But what happens when we stumble upon something we don't understand, something that doesn't fit into our, neat little boxes of knowledge?
You're talking about the unknown unknowns, the things that we don't even know we don't know. Kind of like stumbling upon a hidden door at a familiar room. You have no idea what's behind it, but you have to find out.
And sometimes what's behind that door can be amazing, life-changing, transformative. But sometimes, as Thorne is discovering, it can be terrifying. In his case, he literally stumbles upon a being from a time before time, a creature that seems to defy the laws of physics as we understand them.
So what happens next? Does Thorne try to reason with this thing, or does he go full action hero and try to take it down?
Well, according to the story, he does what any detective in a tight spot would do. He reaches for his gun. But, as you might have guessed, bullets don't work so well against a being of pure energy.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's never a good sign. So what happens? Does Thorne become the sleeper's next snack?
Things get even more intense. The sleeper starts to unfurl. The best way to describe it is like a storm taking shape. It's less flesh and blood and more pure chaos and power unleashed.
Okay, I'm officially creeped out. And what about those cultists who summon this thing? Are they getting what they wanted, or have they unleashed something that they can't control?
That's what's so chilling about this story. The cultists thought they were in control, that they were summoning a force to serve their purposes, but what they really did was open a door to something far beyond their comprehension. And instead of becoming masters of this powerful entity, they end up as its first victims, consumed by the very thing they sought to control.
Talk about unintended consequences. It's like those stories about scientists creating artificial intelligence that becomes self-aware and turns on its creators. We think we're in control, but we're playing with forces that we don't fully understand.
Exactly. It raises some really profound questions about our relationship with technology. Are we creating tools that will help us evolve and progress, or are we building the very things that will lead to our destruction?
So the sleeper's awake, wreaking havoc, and the cultists are toast. What about Detective Thorne? Does he manage to escape this cosmic horror show?
Well, that's where the story takes a truly unsettling turn. Thorne's last view is of the asylum collapsing in on itself, being pulled into the swirling void that seems to emanate from the sleeper. The story leaves his fate ambiguous. Is he dead, or is he lost in some other dimension?
No, that's cliffhanger ending. But wait, if Thorne's gone, what happens to his broadcast? Those voices of the dead he hears, do they just disappear?
The story suggests that his connection to the dead is severed. He becomes another echo lost in the cosmic static.
And what does that mean for us, the listeners, in the real world? What are we supposed to take away from Thorne's story?
I think the most important lesson is that we need to approach powerful technologies, even those we believe are for good, with a healthy dose of caution and awareness. Just because we can do something doesn't always mean we should. And sometimes the most important discoveries are the ones that lead us to question our assumptions, to challenge our understanding of the world, and to grapple with the ethical implications of our actions.
So you're saying that Thorne's ability to hear those echoes from the past, the thing that made him such a great detective, that might have also made him vulnerable to something like the sleeper.
Yeah, it's a chilling thought, isn't it? It's like his strength became his downfall, and it makes you wonder, what are the hidden vulnerabilities in our own pursuit of knowledge? Are there some doors that we're better off leaving closed?
It's like that old saying, curiosity killed the cat. We're always pushing the boundaries of science and technology, but are we really prepared for what we might find?
And even if we are, who decides what we do with that knowledge? Think about Thorne's ability to hear the dead. In the wrong hands, that kind of power could be incredibly dangerous.
Right.
It could be used to manipulate, to control, even to harm.
So it's not just about the technology. It's about the people who wield it, their intentions, their ethics. We see this playing out in the real world with things like artificial intelligence and genetic engineering. Incredible potential for good, but also the possibility for misuse.
Right. And as we go deeper into the unknown, as we unlock these secrets of the universe, it becomes even more important to consider the ethics, Are we creating a future that benefits all of humanity, or are we just serving the interests of a select few?
Thorne's story also reminds us that sometimes the most important discoveries aren't the ones that give us answers, but the ones that raise even more questions. The ones that challenge what we believe and force us to confront the limits of our understanding.
And that's what makes True Tomorrow so compelling, right? It's not about predicting the future, but about exploring the possibilities, the what-ifs, the maybes, encouraging us to think critically, to question what we believe, and to consider the kind of future we want to create.
So even though Thorne's fate is uncertain, his story serves as a powerful reminder that the future is not set in stone. We can create it with our hopes, our fears, and ultimately our choices.
And those choices, no matter how small, have the power to shape the world we're creating, for better or worse. So as we continue to explore the true tomorrows, we invite you to join us on this journey of discovery, to think about these thought-provoking questions that these stories raise, and to consider the role that each of us can play in shaping the future we want to see.
Well, that's it for our look into the world of Detective Thorne and the terrifying awakening of the Sweeper. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the unknown.
Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep questioning the boundaries of what's possible.